The weight of the Barrett .50 caliber rifle felt different in her hands than it had during training. This wasn't the sterile environment of the shooting range, or the controlled chaos of military exercises. This was real. The desert wind carried the scent of dust and diesel fuel, as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted her grip on the weapon that had become an extension of herself over the past 3 years. What happened next would challenge everything the military establishment thought they knew about women in combat, precision shooting, and the true meaning of courage under fire. The general who handed her that rifle had seen countless soldiers in action, but he had never witnessed anything quite like what was about to unfold in the mountains of Afghanistan. Some stories are born from headlines. Others emerge from the quiet moments when ordinary people do extraordinary things. This is the story of a single shot that traveled 3,200 meters through thin mountain air, and the woman whose steady hand and unbreakable spirit defied every expectation placed upon her. It's about the moment when skill met opportunity, when training met reality, and when one person's determination changed the course of an entire mission. The general stopped cold when he saw that badge. Not because he doubted its authenticity, but because he finally understood what he had been witnessing all along. Maria Santos never planned to become one of the most feared snipers in the United States Army. Growing up in a small town in Texas, she spent her childhood helping her father repair cars in his garage, her small hands perfect for reaching into tight spaces that his larger ones couldn't navigate.
The person whose enemy replaced for education in the South America area?
Her father, Miguel, was a Vietnam veteran who rarely spoke about his service, but he taught his daughter 2 things that would shape her entire life: precision matters and patience wins wars. The Santos family lived paycheck to paycheck, but Miguel made sure Maria understood the value of focus and discipline. Every Saturday morning, he would take her to the old quarry outside town with his hunting rifle, a weathered Remington that had belonged to his own father. At first, she could barely hold the rifle steady, the weight too much for her 8-year-old frame. But Miguel was patient, teaching her to breathe, to find her natural pause between heartbeats, to squeeze the trigger like she was holding a butterfly's wing. By the time Maria turned 16, she could hit a tin can at 300 yards with iron sights. Her classmates spent weekends at parties or the mall, but Maria found peace in the discipline of marksmanship. She learned to read wind patterns by watching how grass moved in the distance, to calculate elevation adjustments by studying how shadows fell across the landscape. Her father never pushed her toward this skill, but he recognized something special in her steady hands and unwavering concentration. High school guidance counselors encouraged Maria to pursue nursing or teaching, traditional paths for young women in her town. But Maria felt called to something different. The attacks of September 11th happened during her junior year, and like many young Americans, she felt compelled to serve. The difference was that Maria had skills most recruits could only dream of developing. When she walked into the Army recruitment office 3 days after graduating high school, the recruiter initially tried to steer her toward administrative roles or medical training. Staff Sergeant James Powell had processed hundreds of recruits, and while he respected women in the military, he had preconceived notions about their capabilities in combat roles. Maria listened politely to his suggestions about becoming a medic or working in communications, then asked a simple question that changed the trajectory of the conversation. "What's the longest confirmed kill shot in Army history?" she asked. Powell was taken aback by the question. Most female recruits asked about education benefits or deployment schedules. "Why do you want to know that?" he responded. Maria met his gaze steadily. "Because I want to know what record I'm trying to break." The confidence in her voice wasn't arrogance. It was the quiet certainty of someone who had spent years perfecting a craft. Powell decided to take a chance. Instead of dismissing her interest, he arranged for Maria to demonstrate her shooting ability at a nearby range used for recruiting demonstrations. Word spread quickly through the recruitment office when Maria placed 20 shots within a 2-inch group at 500 yards using a standard-issue rifle she had never fired before. The weapon was different from her father's Remington. The sight picture, unfamiliar, but her fundamentals were so solid that adaptation came naturally. Powell watched through binoculars as she adjusted for the rifle's characteristics after just 3 shots, then proceeded to create a grouping that would have impressed seasoned marksmen. The demonstration attracted attention from Colonel Richard Hayes, who happened to be visiting the recruitment center that day. Hayes had commanded sniper units in Iraq and recognized exceptional talent when he saw it. He watched Maria's shooting performance and noticed something beyond her accuracy. She remained completely calm under observation, her breathing steady, her movements economical and purposeful. These were traits that couldn't be taught easily. They were either present naturally or developed through years of patient practice. After the demonstration, Hayes approached Maria with a proposition. The Army was expanding its sniper programs and looking for candidates who showed exceptional promise. The training would be more demanding than anything she had experienced, both physically and mentally. Many candidates, including experienced soldiers, failed to complete the program. Was she interested in attempting the qualification process? Maria's response was immediate and unwavering. Yes, sir. Basic training at Fort Benning presented unique challenges for Maria. She was one of only 12 women in a company of 200 recruits, and she faced skepticism from both drill sergeants and fellow soldiers. Some questioned whether she belonged in an infantry unit at all, while others assumed she would receive special treatment because of her gender. Maria quickly proved both assumptions wrong. During weapons training, she consistently outshot soldiers who had been handling firearms their entire lives. Her rifle qualifications were so exceptional that drill sergeants initially suspected equipment malfunction or coaching. But repeat performances under different conditions confirmed what was becoming obvious. Maria Santos possessed a natural talent for precision shooting that transcended normal skill levels. The physical demands of infantry training pushed Maria to her limits. She was smaller than most of her male counterparts, but she compensated with determination and intelligent training methods. While others relied on brute strength, Maria developed techniques that maximized her efficiency. She studied how to carry heavy equipment in ways that preserved energy, learned to pace herself during long marches, and found ways to leverage her smaller size as an advantage in certain tactical situations. Her drill sergeant, Master Sergeant Tony Rodriguez, was initially skeptical about women in combat roles, but Maria's performance gradually changed his perspective. She never complained about unequal treatment, never asked for accommodations, and consistently performed at the highest levels despite obvious physical disadvantages. Rodriguez began to see leadership potential in Maria that went beyond her shooting ability. During a field exercise in the 8th week of basic training, Maria's platoon was assigned a simulated reconnaissance mission. They were required to observe and report on enemy positions across a valley while remaining undetected for 48 hours. The exercise tested not only tactical skills but also mental endurance and decision-making under stress. Maria's role was to provide overwatch and long-range reconnaissance using spotting scopes and range-finding equipment. She positioned herself in a concealed location that offered optimal visibility while maintaining cover from simulated enemy forces. For 2 days, she remained motionless for hours at a time, carefully documenting enemy movements and relaying critical information to her team. On the second day of the exercise, opposing forces began a systematic sweep of the area where Maria's platoon was hidden. Several team members were killed when they moved carelessly or failed to maintain proper concealment. The situation became critical when enemy forces approached within 50 meters of Maria's position. Instead of retreating, Maria made a calculated decision to remain in place. She understood that moving would likely expose her location and compromise the entire mission. For 3 hours, she lay motionless while simulated enemy soldiers moved around her position, sometimes passing within arm's reach of her concealed fighting position. Her patience and discipline allowed the platoon to complete their mission successfully. The detailed intelligence she gathered during those critical hours provided valuable information about enemy strength and movement patterns. When the exercise concluded, evaluators praised her tactical decision-making and mental toughness under extreme pressure. Master Sergeant Rodriguez filed a report recommending Maria for advanced infantry training, specifically mentioning her exceptional performance during the reconnaissance exercise. He noted that her combination of marksmanship ability, tactical awareness, and mental resilience made her an ideal candidate for specialized training programs. Colonel Hayes, who had been following Maria's progress through basic training, read Rodriguez's report with great interest. He had been looking for candidates to fill slots in the Army's expanding sniper school program, and Maria's combination of natural ability and proven performance under pressure made her an obvious choice. However, he also knew that sniper school would present challenges that would test every aspect of her character and capability. The decision to recommend Maria for sniper training wasn't made lightly. The program had a failure rate exceeding 60%, and the physical and mental demands were extraordinary. Students were required to demonstrate not only exceptional marksmanship but also advanced fieldcraft, camouflage techniques, stalking abilities, and the mental fortitude to operate independently in hostile territory for extended periods. Hayes arranged a meeting with Maria during the final week of basic training. He explained the nature of sniper training and the responsibilities that came with the role. Snipers operated in small teams, often without immediate support, in some of the most dangerous environments the military had to offer. They were expected to make life and death decisions independently, often while under extreme stress and physical discomfort. The conversation was frank and detailed. Hayes wanted to ensure that Maria understood exactly what she was volunteering for. Sniper training wasn't just about shooting accurately, it was about developing the mental discipline to remain motionless for hours in uncomfortable positions, the patience to wait for the perfect shot opportunity, and the emotional strength to handle the psychological impact of precision killing. Maria listened carefully to Hayes' explanation, asking thoughtful questions about the training curriculum, deployment expectations, and the role of female soldiers in sniper units.
She had done her own research and understood that she would likely be among the first women to attempt this particular program.
The weight of that responsibility didn't intimidate her, it motivated her. When Hayes finished his explanation, he asked Maria if she still wanted to pursue sniper training, despite understanding the challenges and risks involved. Her response reflected the same quiet confidence she had shown in the recruitment office months earlier. "Sir, this is exactly what I want to do. I've been preparing for this my entire life, I just didn't know it until now." Hayes smiled at her answer. He had heard similar responses from dozens of candidates over the years, but something in Maria's tone convinced him that she truly understood what she was committing to. He approved her application for sniper school, setting in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to that moment in Afghanistan when a general would hand her a Barrett .50 caliber rifle and watch in amazement as she redefined what was possible. The recommendation was just the beginning. Sniper school would test everything Maria had learned about herself, her capabilities, and her determination to excel in a field dominated by men who had been training for this role their entire military careers. But as she prepared to leave Fort Benning for the next phase of her journey, Maria felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Her father had taught her that precision matters and patience wins wars. She was about to discover just how true those lessons would prove to be. The United States Army Sniper School at Fort Benning, Georgia, had a reputation that preceded itself throughout the military community. Soldiers spoke of it in hushed tones, sharing stories of candidates who arrived confident and left broken, or worse, simply never completed the program at all. When Maria Santos reported for duty on a humid Monday morning in September, she became the third woman ever to attempt the course, and the first to do so without prior combat experience. Sergeant First Class Mike Thompson had been an instructor at the sniper school for 4 years, and he prided himself on his ability to identify which students would succeed within the first week. Thompson was a veteran of 3 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, with 11 confirmed kills to his credit. He had trained hundreds of soldiers in the art of precision shooting and long-range reconnaissance, and he knew that success required a specific combination of mental toughness, physical endurance, and technical aptitude that few possessed. When Thompson first saw Maria's name on the roster, he was skeptical, not because he doubted women's capabilities in general, but because the sniper school program was designed around standards that had been developed specifically for male soldiers. For physical requirements alone eliminated many strong men. Adding gender dynamics to an already challenging environment seemed like a recipe for failure, not just for Maria, but potentially for the entire class. The first week of sniper school was designed to eliminate candidates who lacked the fundamental requirements for the program. Students were required to pass a battery of physical fitness tests, demonstrate basic marksmanship proficiency, and complete a series of psychological evaluations designed to identify potential problems with stress management and decision-making under pressure. Maria approached each challenge methodically, drawing on lessons learned from her father and her experience in basic training. The physical fitness requirements were demanding, but she had spent months preparing specifically for this moment. While she couldn't match the raw strength of her male counterparts, she had developed techniques that allowed her to meet every standard through superior conditioning and efficient movement. The marksmanship evaluations revealed what Thompson had suspected from reading Maria's file. Her shooting ability was exceptional, but more importantly, her consistency was remarkable. Many soldiers could produce excellent groups occasionally, but Maria's performance remained steady, regardless of weather conditions, equipment variations, or external pressures. Thompson began to realize that he might have underestimated this particular candidate. During the second week, students began learning advanced fieldcraft techniques. This phase of training focused on camouflage, concealment, and stalking skills that would allow snipers to operate undetected in enemy territory. Students learned to construct elaborate ghillie suits, move silently across various terrain types, and remain motionless for extended periods while maintaining situational awareness. The stalking exercises were particularly challenging for Maria. Her smaller size, which had sometimes been a disadvantage during physical training, became an asset when moving through dense vegetation or tight spaces. She learned to use her natural advantages while compensating for areas where she faced physical limitations. Thompson watched with growing interest as Maria developed innovative techniques for maintaining concealment while carrying the heavier equipment required for long-range shooting. One of the most difficult aspects of stalking training involved what instructors called the hide. Students were required to construct concealed positions that would allow them to observe designated targets for hours at a time without being detected by instructors actively searching for them. The exercise tested not only technical camouflage skills but also mental discipline and physical endurance. During her first hide exercise, Maria spent 14 hours motionless in a carefully constructed concealed position, observing a mock enemy compound through a spotting scope. The position she chose offered excellent visibility of the target area while providing multiple escape routes if her location was compromised. Thompson and other instructors spent hours searching for her position using binoculars and thermal imaging equipment, but her camouflage was so effective that they walked within 3 feet of her hide without detecting her presence. When the exercise concluded, Thompson was genuinely impressed. The position Maria had constructed demonstrated sophisticated understanding of terrain analysis, concealment principles, and tactical patience. More importantly, her detailed observations of activity within the mock compound provided valuable intelligence that would have been useful in a real-world scenario. The third week introduced students to the technical aspects of long-range shooting. This wasn't the basic marksmanship they had learned in infantry training, but rather the complex science of ballistics, environmental factors, and equipment optimization required for precision shooting at extreme distances. Students learned to calculate wind drift, elevation adjustments, and the effects of temperature and humidity on bullet trajectory. Maria excelled in the classroom portions of this training. Her analytical mind absorbed the mathematical concepts quickly, and she demonstrated an intuitive understanding of how environmental factors affected bullet flight. But the real test came on the range, where students were required to engage targets at progressively longer distances using various rifle systems and ammunition types. Starting at 600 yards and working out to 1,200 yards, students practiced the fundamentals of long-range shooting under different conditions. Maria's performance was consistently exceptional, but Thompson noticed something beyond her accuracy. She remained completely calm regardless of the pressure or difficulty of each shot. While other students showed signs of stress when facing challenging shots, Maria's heart rate and breathing remained steady. The psychological aspects of sniper training were as demanding as the physical challenges. Students attended classes on combat stress management, target identification and engagement procedures, and the ethical considerations of precision killing. These sessions were designed to prepare future snipers for the mental challenges they would face when taking human life from long distances, often after observing their targets for extended periods. During one particularly intense classroom session, an instructor presented students with a series of hypothetical scenarios involving civilian casualties, rules of engagement violations, and moral ambiguity in target selection. Students were required to discuss their decision-making processes and defend their choices in front of the class. These exercises revealed how each student processed moral complexity and stress. Maria's responses during these sessions impressed both instructors and fellow students. She demonstrated clear thinking under pressure while maintaining strong ethical standards. Her answers showed that she understood the gravity of the responsibilities she was training to accept, but also that she possessed the mental clarity necessary to make difficult decisions in complex situations. As training progressed into the 5th week, students began working with more advanced rifle systems, including the Barrett .50 caliber rifle that would later play such a crucial role in Maria's career. The Barrett was a massive weapon, weighing nearly 30 pounds and capable of accurately engaging targets at distances exceeding 2,000 meters. Many students initially struggled with the rifle's size and recoil, but Maria adapted quickly to its characteristics. Her first shots with the Barrett surprised even experienced instructors. Despite the weapon's intimidating size and power, Maria's groups at 1,000 meters were tighter than those produced by students who had been training with the rifle for weeks. Thompson realized that Maria's fundamental shooting skills were so solid that adapting to different weapons was simply a matter of understanding their specific characteristics. The advanced phases of training introduced students to real-world scenarios that simulated combat conditions. Students worked in 2-person sniper teams, with one serving as the shooter and the other as the spotter. These exercises tested not only individual skills but also teamwork, communication, and the ability to coordinate complex operations under pressure. Maria was paired with Corporal David Kim, a former infantry soldier from California, who had requested sniper training after completing 2 deployments in Afghanistan. Kim was initially uncertain about working with a female partner, but Maria's demonstrated competence quickly earned his respect. Their partnership became one of the most effective teams in the class, with Kim providing excellent spotting support, while Maria consistently delivered precise shots under challenging conditions. One training exercise involved a simulated hostage rescue scenario where Maria's team was required to eliminate multiple targets simultaneously while avoiding civilian casualties. The scenario took place at a mock compound where instructors had positioned targets at various distances and angles, some partially concealed behind cover that simulated human shields. Students had only one opportunity to engage all targets successfully. Maria and Kim spent 2 hours conducting detailed reconnaissance of the target area, identifying optimal shooting positions and calculating exact ranges to each target. They coordinated their plan carefully, with Kim providing range estimates and wind readings, while Maria prepared engagement solutions for each target. When they received authorization to engage, Maria delivered 4 precise shots in less than 30 seconds, neutralizing all designated targets without endangering any simulated civilians. The precision and speed of her engagement impressed the entire cadre of instructors. Thompson later described it as one of the most professional performances he had witnessed during his time as an instructor. The exercise demonstrated that Maria possessed not only exceptional marksmanship skills, but also the tactical awareness and mental clarity necessary to operate effectively in complex, high-pressure situations. As the training program entered its final weeks, students faced the ultimate test, a comprehensive field exercise that combined all the skills they had learned over the previous 2 months. Teams were inserted into a large training area where they were required to conduct reconnaissance missions, engage designated targets at long range, and evade detection by opposing forces actively searching for them. The exercise lasted 5 days and tested every aspect of sniper training. Teams had to navigate difficult terrain while carrying full equipment loads, construct effective hides in various environments, and maintain surveillance of target areas while remaining undetected. They were also required to engage moving targets at ranges exceeding 1,500 meters under realistic field conditions. Maria and Kim's performance during the final exercise was exceptional. They successfully completed all assigned missions while avoiding detection by opposing forces throughout the 5-day period. Their longest successful engagement was against a target at 1,800 meters in windy conditions, a shot that Maria delivered with precise calculation and steady execution, despite having been in position for 6 hours without moving. On the final day of the exercise, teams were required to conduct a complex reconnaissance mission that involved observing a simulated enemy command post for 12 hours while documenting personnel movements and identifying key targets. The information gathered during this surveillance would be used to plan a hypothetical raid on the facility. Maria's detailed observations during this mission provided valuable intelligence about enemy strength, daily routines, and security procedures. Her report included precise range estimates to key positions, identification of optimal engagement angles, and recommendations for coordinated assault planning. The thoroughness and accuracy of her analysis demonstrated that she understood not only the technical aspects of sniping, but also the broader intelligence-gathering role that snipers played in military operations. When the training program concluded, Maria had achieved the highest overall scores in the history of the sniper school. Her marksmanship evaluations were exceptional, her field craft skills were outstanding, and her performance under pressure had been consistently superior to her peers. Thompson, who had initially questioned whether women belonged in the program, found himself writing one of the strongest recommendation letters of his career. The graduation ceremony was attended by senior officers who had heard about Maria's exceptional performance during training. Among them was General Patricia Williams, the highest-ranking female officer in the Army at that time. General Williams presented Maria with her sniper qualification badge and told her that she was opening doors for future generations of women in the military. But Maria's focus wasn't on the historic significance of her achievement. She was thinking about deployment, about the opportunity to apply her skills in real-world situations where precision and patience could save lives and accomplish critical missions. She had no way of knowing that her exceptional performance in training was only the beginning of a career that would ultimately redefine expectations about women in combat roles. As she prepared for her first deployment to Afghanistan, Maria carried with her the confidence that came from surviving one of the military's most demanding training programs. She had proven to herself and others that skill, determination, and mental toughness mattered more than gender when it came to excelling in specialized military roles. The lessons she had learned about precision and patience were about to be tested in the most challenging environment imaginable. The transport plane descended through thick clouds over Afghanistan's mountainous terrain, and Staff Sergeant Maria Santos pressed her face to the small window to catch her first glimpse of what would be her home for the next 15 months. Below her stretched an endless landscape of brown mountains and deep valleys, punctuated by small villages that seemed to cling impossibly to the steep hillsides. This was her first deployment, and despite all her training, nothing had quite prepared her for the reality of entering an active war zone. Forward Operating Base Chapman was located in Khost Province, near the Pakistani border, in an area known for frequent Taliban activity and complex terrain that favored insurgent operations. The base housed approximately 2,000 American soldiers and contractors, along with Afghan National Army units and various civilian personnel involved in reconstruction efforts. For Maria, Chapman represented both an opportunity to apply her specialized training and a test of everything she had learned about herself during the previous year. Captain James Morrison commanded the sniper section at FOB Chapman, and he had been both curious and concerned about the arrival of the Army's newest qualified female sniper. Morrison was a veteran of 2 previous deployments and had worked with some of the finest marksmen in the military, but he had never commanded a female sniper in a combat environment. He understood the political sensitivity of the assignment while also recognizing the need to maintain unit effectiveness and cohesion. When Morrison first met Maria, he was struck by her professional demeanor and obvious confidence in her abilities. She asked detailed questions about local terrain, enemy tactics, and recent sniper activities in the area. Her questions demonstrated that she had done significant research about the operational environment and was thinking seriously about how to contribute effectively to ongoing missions. The integration of a female sniper into an established team presented unique challenges that went beyond simple operational considerations. The base's living arrangements had to be modified to accommodate Maria's presence, and Morrison had to address concerns from some team members who questioned whether having a woman in their unit would affect team dynamics or compromise their effectiveness in combat situations. Staff Sergeant Tony Rodriguez, the senior enlisted sniper on the team, was initially skeptical about working with Maria. Rodriguez had served 3 combat deployments and had strong opinions about unit cohesion and the importance of maintaining established procedures. However, his concerns were based on practical considerations rather than prejudice. He worried about how the presence of a woman might affect decision-making in dangerous situations, or whether male team members might take unnecessary risks to protect her. Maria addressed these concerns directly during her first team meeting. She explained that she understood the challenges her presence might create and committed to proving herself through performance rather than asking for special consideration. She emphasized that her goal was to contribute to mission success while maintaining the high standards that the team had established over multiple deployments. Her first opportunity to demonstrate her capabilities came during a routine reconnaissance mission in the mountains overlooking a valley frequently used by Taliban fighters to move weapons and personnel between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The mission required a 2-person sniper team to establish an observation post on a ridgeline, approximately 2 kilometers from known enemy routes, where they would conduct surveillance for 72 hours while remaining undetected. Morrison assigned Maria to work with Sergeant First Class Kevin Walsh, an experienced sniper from Ohio who had been with the unit for 8 months. Walsh was known for his professionalism and technical expertise, but he had expressed reservations about working with an unproven partner in such a dangerous environment. The mission would test not only Maria's individual skills, but also her ability to function effectively as part of a 2-person team under combat conditions. The infiltration to their observation post required a challenging night movement through difficult terrain while carrying heavy equipment including rifles, ammunition, communications gear, and supplies for a 3-day stay. Maria's physical conditioning from sniper school served her well during the arduous climb to their position, but Walsh was surprised by how efficiently she moved through the mountains despite carrying a full combat load. Their observation post was located on a rocky outcropping that provided excellent visibility of the valley below while offering concealment from enemy observation. Maria and Walsh spent several hours carefully preparing their position, constructing camouflaged hides that would allow them to maintain surveillance while remaining invisible to enemy forces that might be searching for American observation posts. During the first night of their surveillance mission, Maria demonstrated the patience and attention to detail that had impressed her instructors during training. She maintained careful watch through night vision equipment, documenting all movement in the valley while Walsh rested. Her observations were detailed and accurate, noting not only the location and direction of movement, but also estimating group sizes and identifying any weapons or equipment that might indicate the nature of each group. The second day of the mission brought more significant activity as several groups of armed men moved through the valley during daylight hours. Maria's detailed observations through her spotting scope allowed the team to develop a comprehensive picture of enemy movement patterns and timing. Her reports were transmitted back to the Tactical Operations Center, where intelligence analysts used the information to plan future operations against Taliban logistics networks. On the third day of the mission, Walsh and Maria observed a larger group of approximately 20 armed men moving through the valley, with pack animals carrying what appeared to be weapons and ammunition. The group was moving toward a position where they would be within effective range of Maria's rifle, and Walsh requested permission to engage if the opportunity presented itself. The authorization came back quickly from the Tactical Operations Center. Intelligence analysts had confirmed that the group matched the description of a known Taliban weapons smuggling operation, and eliminating their leadership would significantly disrupt insurgent activities in the region. Walsh and Maria were authorized to engage targets of opportunity if they could do so without compromising their position. As the enemy group approached the predetermined engagement area, Walsh provided range estimates and wind readings, while Maria prepared for what would be her first shots fired in combat. The lead target was approximately 1,400 meters away, moving slowly along a well-defined trail that offered a clear shot opportunity. Maria's calculations indicated that the environmental conditions were favorable for accurate long-range engagement. When Maria squeezed the trigger for her first combat shot, the .308 caliber bullet traveled nearly a mile through the thin mountain air before striking its intended target with devastating precision. The enemy group leader fell instantly, and the rest of the insurgents scattered for cover among the rocks and sparse vegetation of the valley floor. Walsh confirmed the hit through his spotting scope and immediately began searching for additional targets. Over the next several minutes, Maria engaged 3 additional targets as they attempted to organize their group and locate the source of the incoming fire. Each shot was carefully calculated and precisely delivered, with Walsh providing crucial support through range estimation and target identification. The coordination between the 2 snipers was seamless, demonstrating the effectiveness of their partnership despite their limited experience working together. The engagement was over within 10 minutes, but its impact on Maria's career and reputation was immediate and significant. She had demonstrated not only exceptional marksmanship under combat conditions, but also the mental composure necessary to perform effectively in a life-or-death situation. Walsh's after-action report praised her professional performance and recommended her for additional challenging assignments. Word of Maria's successful combat debut spread quickly through the sniper community at FOB Chapman and beyond. Senior officers who had been monitoring her progress closely were impressed by the reports of her performance, but more importantly, her fellow team members began to accept her as a fully capable member of their unit. The skepticism that had initially greeted her arrival was replaced by respect for her demonstrated abilities. Captain Morrison assigned Maria to increasingly complex missions over the following months, always paired with experienced team members who could provide additional support and mentorship. These missions ranged from routine surveillance operations to high-risk direct action assignments that required precise shooting under extremely challenging conditions. One particularly memorable mission involved providing sniper support for a special operations raid on a Taliban command compound located in a remote valley approximately 50 kilometers from FOB Chapman. Maria's role was to establish an overwatch position on a ridgeline overlooking the target compound, where she would provide precision fire support if the assault team encountered resistance during their operation. The infiltration to the overwatch position required a helicopter insertion, followed by a challenging climb through rocky terrain in complete darkness. Maria's team had to carry enough equipment and supplies to remain in position for up to 48 hours while maintaining the ability to provide effective fire support at ranges up to 2,000 meters. The compound assault began just before dawn, with Special Operations Forces approaching the target under cover of darkness. Maria watched through her rifle scope as the assault team moved into position around the compound, ready to provide supporting fire if they encountered organized resistance. The operation proceeded smoothly until the assault team breached the main building and triggered a fierce firefight with defenders who had been prepared for an attack. During the resulting battle, Maria engaged multiple targets who were attempting to escape from the compound or reinforce the defenders. Her longest shot during this engagement was 1,900 meters against a target who was trying to reach a heavy machine gun position that would have posed a serious threat to the assault team. The precision of her shooting and the coordination with ground forces helped ensure the success of the operation while minimizing casualties among friendly forces. These successful missions established Maria's reputation as one of the most effective snipers in the theater of operations. Her combination of technical expertise, mental toughness, and tactical awareness made her a valuable asset for complex operations requiring precision fire support. Senior officers began specifically requesting her participation in critical missions where accuracy and reliability were essential. The psychological challenges of combat operations affected Maria differently than she had expected. While the technical aspects of sniping came naturally to her, the emotional impact of taking human life required significant mental adjustment. She participated in regular counseling sessions with military psychologists who helped combat soldiers process the stress and moral complexity of their experiences in war. Maria found that her ability to cope with the psychological demands of combat was enhanced by her clear understanding of the mission and its importance. She viewed her role as protecting American soldiers and supporting operations that would ultimately bring stability to Afghanistan. This sense of purpose helped her maintain mental balance while dealing with the inherent stress of combat operations. Her growing reputation within the sniper community attracted attention from senior officers throughout the region, including General Robert Thompson, the commanding general responsible for operations in eastern Afghanistan. General Thompson had heard reports of Maria's exceptional performance and was interested in meeting the soldier who was generating such positive feedback from field commanders. When General Thompson visited FOB Chapman during his quarterly inspection tour, he specifically requested a briefing on sniper operations in the region. Captain Morrison arranged for Maria to participate in this briefing, giving her an opportunity to present detailed analysis of enemy tactics and the effectiveness of sniper operations in countering insurgent activities. General Thompson was impressed by Maria's professional presentation and her sophisticated understanding of the operational environment. Her analysis demonstrated not only technical expertise, but also strategic thinking about how sniper operations could be integrated more effectively into broader counterinsurgency efforts. The general left the briefing with a strong positive impression of Maria's capabilities and potential for advancement. As Maria's first deployment progressed, she continued to excel in increasingly challenging assignments while building strong relationships with her fellow team members. The initial skepticism about her presence had been completely replaced by respect and confidence in her abilities. She had proven that gender was irrelevant when it came to performing effectively in specialized military roles. But her most significant challenge was still ahead. Intelligence reports were beginning to indicate increased Taliban activity in the remote mountains near the Pakistani border, where insurgent leaders were planning major operations against coalition forces. These developments would soon lead to the mission that would test every aspect of Maria's training and experience while providing her with an opportunity to demonstrate the full extent of her capabilities as a sniper. The intelligence brief that would change everything arrived at FOB Chapman on a cold morning in March, delivered by a helicopter that had flown through dangerous mountain passes under cover of darkness. The information contained within those classified documents would lead to one of the most challenging sniper missions of the entire Afghanistan conflict, and would ultimately showcase Maria Santos's extraordinary abilities in a way that would resonate throughout military command structures for years to come. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, the intelligence officer responsible for Eastern Afghanistan operations, had spent weeks piecing together fragments of information about a high-value target who had been operating along the Pakistan border. The target was identified as Commander Abdul Rahman, a senior Taliban leader responsible for coordinating weapons smuggling operations and planning attacks against coalition forces. Rahman had successfully evaded capture for over 2 years, using his intimate knowledge of the mountainous terrain to stay ahead of American pursuit. What made this intelligence particularly valuable was the identification of a location where Rahman would be vulnerable to interdiction. According to multiple sources, including intercepted communications and human intelligence reports, Rahman was planning to meet with Pakistani Taliban leaders at a remote compound located in a valley approximately 60 kilometers from FOB Chapman. The meeting was scheduled to discuss coordination of a major offensive operation planned for the spring fighting season. The tactical challenge was enormous. The compound was located in extremely difficult terrain, surrounded by mountains that provided natural defensive positions for anyone defending the facility. The nearest helicopter landing zone was over 20 kilometers away, making conventional assault operations extremely risky and likely to alert Rahman to approaching danger long before American forces could reach the compound. General Robert Thompson, who had been impressed by Maria's performance during his previous visit to FOB Chapman, was personally involved in planning the operation to capture or eliminate Rahman. When his staff presented various options for approaching the target, Thompson asked a question that would prove crucial to the mission's development. What about using sniper teams to conduct surveillance and interdiction? Can we get close enough to observe the compound and take action if an opportunity presents itself? Captain Morrison, who had been included in the planning sessions because of his unit's extensive knowledge of the operational area, confirmed that sniper teams could potentially establish observation posts in the mountains surrounding the compound. However, he emphasized that such an operation would require exceptional skill and endurance, as teams would need to infiltrate through enemy territory and remain in position for potentially several days. General Thompson's response was immediate and direct. "I want your best sniper team on this mission." "Who do you recommend?" Morrison didn't hesitate in his answer. "Staff Sergeant Santos and Sergeant First Class Walsh, sir. They've worked together successfully on multiple operations and have demonstrated the technical skills and mental toughness required for this type of mission. The mission planning process took 3 weeks to complete, with detailed analysis of terrain, weather patterns, enemy activity, and extraction procedures. The plan called for Maria and Walsh to infiltrate the target area under cover of darkness, establish a concealed observation post approximately 3 kilometers from the compound, and conduct surveillance for up to 5 days while waiting for Rahman to arrive for his scheduled meeting. The distance of 3 kilometers was necessary to avoid detection by compound security, but it would require exceptional marksmanship if shooting opportunities presented themselves. At that range, environmental factors such as wind, temperature, and elevation would have dramatic effects on bullet trajectory. Success would require not only precise shooting but also perfect calculation of ballistic solutions under field conditions. Maria spent hours studying topographical maps and satellite imagery of the target area, identifying optimal locations for observation posts and calculating potential shooting solutions from various positions. The compound was located in a bowl-shaped valley surrounded by steep ridges, with the most promising sniper positions located on the northern ridgeline approximately 3,200 meters from the main building where the meeting was expected to take place. The infiltration would require a helicopter insertion at night, followed by a difficult overland movement through mountainous terrain while avoiding Taliban patrols and observation posts. Maria and Walsh would carry enough equipment and supplies to remain self-sufficient for up to a week, including specialized long-range shooting equipment and communications gear to maintain contact with tactical operations centers. 3 days before the scheduled infiltration, Maria received an unexpected visitor at FOB Chapman. General Thompson had returned to personally brief her on the mission and its strategic importance. The general explained that eliminating Rahman would significantly disrupt Taliban operations throughout the region and potentially prevent a major offensive that intelligence analysts believed could result in substantial coalition casualties. During their conversation, General Thompson asked Maria directly about her confidence in making successful shots at the extreme ranges required by this mission. Her response demonstrated both technical understanding and realistic assessment of the challenges involved. "Sir, I can consistently hit targets at 3,200 meters under controlled conditions. The variables in a field environment will make it more challenging, but with proper preparation and favorable conditions, it's achievable. The key will be patience and waiting for the optimal shot opportunity." General Thompson was impressed by her honest assessment and professional confidence. He authorized the mission to proceed with Maria's team providing sniper support while emphasizing the critical importance of eliminating Rahman if the opportunity arose. The helicopter insertion took place during a moonless night in early April, with Maria and Walsh inserted approximately 15 kilometers from their target location. The overland movement to their observation post required 8 hours of careful navigation through enemy territory, moving only during darkness and remaining concealed during daylight hours to avoid detection. The observation post they established on the northern ridge provided excellent visibility of the compound below while offering concealment from ground observation. Maria and Walsh spent considerable time improving their position, constructing elaborate camouflage that would allow them to remain undetected, even if enemy forces searched the area with binoculars or spotting scopes. For 3 days, they maintained continuous surveillance of the compound while documenting all activity and transmitting intelligence reports back to tactical operations centers. The compound appeared to house approximately 30 Taliban fighters, with vehicles and equipment suggesting preparation for a significant meeting or operation. On the 4th day of their surveillance mission, increased activity around the compound indicated that important arrivals were expected. Several additional vehicles arrived during the morning hours, and security patrols around the compound were increased significantly. Maria and Walsh reported these developments while preparing for the possibility that Rahman might arrive within the next few hours. The target identification came at approximately 1400 hours local time, when a convoy of 3 vehicles approached the compound from the direction of the Pakistan border. Through their powerful spotting scopes, Maria and Walsh observed several individuals exiting the vehicles, including one who matched the physical description and distinctive clothing worn by Rahman in previous intelligence photographs. The range to the compound was exactly 3,247 meters according to their laser rangefinder, making this one of the longest potential sniper shots ever attempted in combat conditions. The environmental factors were challenging but manageable, with a crosswind of approximately 8 miles per hour and temperature conditions that would affect bullet trajectory calculations. Maria spent several minutes calculating the precise ballistic solution required for a successful shot at this extreme range. The calculations involved not only basic trajectory adjustments but also compensation for the Coriolis effect, caused by the Earth's rotation, the decreased air density at high altitude, and the specific ballistic characteristics of the ammunition she was using. Walsh provided crucial support during this preparation phase, confirming range measurements, monitoring wind conditions, and maintaining surveillance of the target area through his spotting scope. Their coordination was seamless, reflecting months of successful partnership and shared experience in similar situations. The shot opportunity came when Rahman emerged from the main building and stood in an open area where he was clearly visible from Maria's position. He remained stationary for several seconds while conversing with other individuals, presenting the clear shot opportunity that Maria had been waiting for. When she squeezed the trigger, the .338 Lapua Magnum round began a journey that would take approximately 4 seconds to reach its target. During that time, Maria remained perfectly motionless, maintaining her sight picture and following through with proper shooting technique, even though the target was too distant to observe impact through her rifle scope.
Walsh, who was watching through a high-powered spotting scope, confirmed the hit immediately.
Target down. Direct hit center mass. Target is not moving. The precision of the shot at such an extreme range was extraordinary, but its impact on the mission went far beyond simple marksmanship. Rahman's death immediately disrupted the planned meeting and caused significant confusion among the remaining Taliban leaders. Several vehicles departed the compound quickly, suggesting that the coordinated planning session had been completely compromised. Maria and Walsh maintained their observation post for an additional 24 hours, documenting the aftermath of the successful engagement and providing intelligence about enemy reaction to Rahman's death. Their reports indicated that the Taliban leadership had been significantly disrupted and that planned spring operations would likely be delayed or cancelled entirely. The extraction from their position was conducted without incident, with helicopter pickup occurring during the following night. As they departed the area, Maria reflected on the significance of what had been accomplished. The shot had been technically challenging, but more importantly, it had achieved strategic objectives that would save American lives and disrupt enemy operations throughout the region. Back at FOB Chapman, news of the successful mission spread quickly through military communication channels. The 247-meter shot was recognized as one of the longest confirmed kills in combat history, but the tactical and strategic significance of eliminating Rahman was considered even more important than the record-breaking marksmanship involved. General Thompson arrived at FOB Chapman within 48 hours to personally debrief Maria and Walsh on their mission. During their meeting, he expressed his appreciation for their professional performance and emphasized how their success had contributed to broader counterinsurgency objectives throughout eastern Afghanistan. The general's conversation with Maria revealed his growing recognition of her exceptional capabilities and potential for advancement within the military's special operations community. Her combination of technical expertise, tactical awareness, and mental toughness under extreme pressure had proven invaluable in one of the most challenging operational environments in the world. However, General Thompson also recognized that Maria's achievements represented something larger than individual excellence. Her success was opening doors for other women in specialized military roles and challenging traditional assumptions about gender limitations in combat operations. The implications extended far beyond a single sniper shot, no matter how technically impressive. As word of the mission spread through higher command levels, requests began arriving for Maria to participate in additional high-profile operations throughout the theater. Senior commanders were eager to utilize her proven capabilities in situations where precision and reliability were essential for mission success. But the most significant recognition was yet to come. The documentation of Maria's 247-meter shot would eventually reach the highest levels of military leadership, where it would contribute to discussions about expanding opportunities for women in combat roles. Her performance had provided concrete evidence that gender was irrelevant when it came to excelling in the most demanding military specialties. The Barrett .50 caliber rifle that would soon play such a crucial role in Maria's career was already being prepared for shipment to Afghanistan, along with the general who would personally hand it to her in recognition of her extraordinary achievements. The moment that would define her military legacy was rapidly approaching, though Maria remained focused on the immediate challenges of her deployment rather than the broader implications of her success. The Barrett M8 2A1.50 caliber sniper rifle arrived at FOB Chapman on a supply helicopter that also carried General Michael Harrison, the commanding general for all Special Operations Forces in Afghanistan. The rifle itself was a masterpiece of precision engineering, capable of accurately engaging targets at distances exceeding 4,000 meters with the right ammunition and environmental conditions. But this particular Barrett carried additional significance that went far beyond its technical specifications. General Harrison had specifically requested this rifle to be prepared for presentation to Staff Sergeant Maria Santos in recognition of her extraordinary service and record-breaking marksmanship achievements. The weapon had been carefully selected from the military's inventory, with its action meticulously tuned by expert gunsmiths to ensure optimal accuracy. The Barrett represented not just a tool for future missions, but a symbol of recognition for achievements that had redefined expectations about women in combat roles. The morning of General Harrison's visit to Fob Chapman was crisp and clear, with the kind of visibility that snipers dream about for long-range shooting. Maria had been informed that a senior general would be visiting to discuss special operations in the region, but she had no advanced knowledge of the specific purpose of his visit or the presentation that had been planned. Captain Morrison had arranged for Maria to participate in a briefing about recent sniper operations, where she would have the opportunity to present analysis of enemy tactics and the effectiveness of precision shooting in counterinsurgency operations. Morrison knew about the planned presentation, but had been instructed to keep the details confidential until the appropriate moment. When General Harrison arrived at the Tactical Operations Center for the briefing, his first request was to meet personally with Maria before the formal presentation began. His reputation within the special operations community was legendary, built on decades of leadership in the most demanding military environments around the world. Soldiers who served under Harrison described him as demanding but fair, with an exceptional ability to recognize and develop talent regardless of traditional barriers. The initial conversation between Harrison and Maria was informal but revealing. The general asked detailed questions about her background, training experience, and adaptation to combat operations in Afghanistan. He was particularly interested in her perspective on the challenges and opportunities associated with being one of the first women to serve in sniper roles during active combat operations. Maria's responses demonstrated the same professionalism and thoughtful analysis that had impressed every senior officer who had worked with her. She spoke honestly about the additional pressures of serving as a pioneer in a traditionally male-dominated field, while emphasizing her focus on mission accomplishment and unit effectiveness. Harrison was struck by her maturity and clear understanding of the broader implications of her service. During the formal briefing that followed, Maria presented comprehensive analysis of sniper operations conducted over the previous 6 months. Her presentation included detailed statistics about enemy engagement patterns, effectiveness of various tactical approaches, and recommendations for improving coordination between sniper teams and other combat units. The thoroughness and sophistication of her analysis impressed all the senior officers in attendance. When Maria described the mission that had resulted in the elimination of Commander Rahman, General Harrison asked specific questions about the technical challenges of shooting at extreme ranges under field conditions. Her explanation of ballistic calculations, environmental factors, and equipment considerations demonstrated mastery of both theoretical knowledge and practical application that exceeded what Harrison expected from a soldier with her level of experience. Following the briefing, General Harrison asked to speak privately with Maria. He led her to a quiet area outside the operations center, where they could have an uninterrupted conversation about her career and future opportunities within the military's special operations community. Staff Sergeant Santos, Harrison began, "Your performance over the past year has been exceptional by any standard. Your technical skills are outstanding, but more importantly, your tactical judgment and mental toughness under pressure have proven invaluable in some of our most challenging operations." Maria thanked the general for his recognition while emphasizing that her success had been possible only because of the support provided by her teammates and the quality of training she had received. Harrison appreciated her humility, but was also interested in discussing the broader implications of her achievements. "You should understand that your success is opening doors for other women in the military," Harrison continued. "Your performance is providing concrete evidence that gender is irrelevant when it comes to excelling in specialized combat roles. That's a responsibility that goes beyond individual achievement." The conversation continued for nearly an hour, covering topics ranging from leadership development to the future of women in special operations roles. Harrison was impressed by Maria's thoughtful perspective on these issues and her clear commitment to maintaining the highest professional standards while serving as a role model for other women considering military careers. When their conversation concluded, Harrison led Maria back to the operations center, where Captain Morrison and the other senior officers were waiting. The general announced that he had a special presentation to make in recognition of Maria's exceptional service and record-breaking achievements during her deployment to Afghanistan. The Barrett .50 caliber rifle was brought forward, along with documentation detailing Maria's confirmed kill at 3,247 meters and her overall performance during combat operations. Harrison explained that the weapon was being presented in recognition of her extraordinary marksmanship and professional excellence in one of the most demanding military specialties. As Harrison placed the Barrett in Maria's hands, he made a statement that would be remembered and quoted for years afterward. "This rifle represents not just recognition of past achievement, but confidence in your continued service as one of the finest snipers in the United States military." The weight of the Barrett felt familiar to Maria, similar to the rifles she had trained with during sniper school, but refined and optimized for maximum accuracy. The weapon's precision was legendary among long-range shooters, and receiving it from the commanding general represented validation of her capabilities at the highest levels of military leadership. But it was what happened next that would become the defining moment of the entire presentation. As General Harrison examined Maria's uniform more closely, his attention was drawn to a small badge that most observers had overlooked. Positioned among her other military decorations was a distinctive badge that indicated qualification for extreme long-range shooting at distances exceeding 3,000 meters. The badge itself was relatively new, having been introduced only recently to recognize snipers who had demonstrated exceptional capability at the longest ranges achievable with current equipment and training standards. Very few soldiers had earned this qualification, and Harrison had never personally encountered anyone who wore it. "Staff Sergeant Santos," Harrison said, his voice carrying a tone of surprise and growing realization. "Is that the 200-meter qualification badge?" Maria confirmed that it was, explaining that she had earned the qualification during advanced training exercises before her deployment to Afghanistan. The badge represented successful engagement of targets at distances that pushed the absolute limits of current sniper technology and human capability. General Harrison stopped talking completely. For several seconds, he simply stared at the badge, processing the implications of what he was seeing. He had been impressed by Maria's combat performance and her record-breaking shot against Rahman. But the presence of the extreme long-range qualification badge indicated a level of capability that exceeded even his elevated expectations. The other officers present began to understand the significance of what Harrison had discovered. They had all been aware of Maria's exceptional marksmanship, but the 200-meter qualification badge represented achievements that placed her among the most elite marksmen in military history. The combination of proven combat performance and demonstrated capability at extreme ranges made her unique among active-duty snipers. Harrison's reaction to discovering the badge became the moment that defined not only Maria's career, but also the broader discussion about women's capabilities in specialized military roles. His surprise wasn't based on any doubt about her abilities, but rather on the realization that he had been witnessing something truly extraordinary without fully comprehending its significance. "I've been briefed on your combat record and your performance during this deployment," Harrison said slowly, "but I didn't realize the full extent of your qualifications. This badge represents capabilities that very few soldiers ever achieve." The recognition implicit in Harrison's reaction was profound. He was acknowledging not just Maria's individual achievements, but also the broader implications of what her success represented for military policy and gender integration in combat roles. His visible surprise and subsequent respect demonstrated that even experienced general officers were still adjusting to the reality of women excelling in previously male-dominated specialties. The formal presentation concluded with Harrison expressing his confidence that Maria would continue to excel in whatever assignment she received in the future. He emphasized that her combination of technical expertise, combat experience, and demonstrated reliability made her a valuable asset for the most challenging special operations missions. Following General Harrison's departure from FOB Chapman, word of the presentation and his reaction to Maria's qualifications spread rapidly through military communication channels. Senior officers throughout the theater began requesting Maria's participation in high-priority operations, where precision shooting was critical for mission success. The broader impact of Harrison's recognition extended beyond immediate operational considerations. His visible surprise at discovering Maria's extreme long-range qualification badge, followed by his obvious respect for her capabilities, became a powerful symbol within the military community. The moment demonstrated that even the most senior and experienced leaders were still learning about the potential for women to excel in traditionally male-dominated roles. Maria's response to the recognition was characteristically professional and focused on future challenges rather than past achievements. She viewed the presentation of the Barrett rifle as an opportunity to contribute to even more demanding missions rather than simply recognition of work already completed. The weapon itself would prove instrumental in future operations, allowing Maria to engage targets at distances that had previously been impossible with standard sniper rifles. The Barrett's .50 caliber ammunition provided devastating effectiveness against both personnel and equipment targets, while its precision allowed for successful engagements at ranges exceeding 4,000 meters under optimal conditions. But perhaps more importantly, the moment when General Harrison stopped cold upon seeing Maria's qualification badge became a turning point in discussions about expanding opportunities for women in special operations roles. His reaction provided powerful evidence that traditional assumptions about gender limitations in military service were being challenged by demonstrable performance and proven capability. The legacy of that moment extended far beyond Maria's individual career. Her achievements became a reference point for policy discussions about women in combat roles, providing concrete evidence that success in specialized military occupations was determined by individual capability rather than gender. The combination of her combat record, technical expertise, and the recognition she received from senior leadership helped pave the way for expanded opportunities for future generations of women in the military. As Maria continued her deployment with the Barrett rifle, she carried with her not only a precision weapon, but also the weight of representing possibilities that had previously seemed impossible. Her journey from a small town in Texas to the mountains of Afghanistan had demonstrated that skill, determination, and mental toughness could overcome any barrier, and that excellence in military service was defined by performance rather than preconceptions. The general had stopped cold, not because he doubted what he was seeing, but because he finally understood that he had been witnessing history in the making. Maria Santos had proven that the future of military excellence would be determined by capability and character, rather than traditional limitations, and her badge represented the concrete evidence of what was possible when talent was allowed to flourish regardless of gender.